In this episode, I ride through the forest to the incredible Milford Sound. I have some difficulty on a muddy track, then end the day on another stunning lake. Morning. Well, I woke up about half an hour ago at 6:30, but it was pitch black. Now it's just started to rain heavily, so I'm riding on roads in the dark that are wet, not the best. So I'm going to give it a bit longer and then start to pack up and head off. Luckily, the idea of camping under the tree to stop the gear and I getting wet worked. It allowed me to pull down the tent and get it and the rest of my gear covered and strapped onto the motorbike without getting wet. It stopped raining, it was a little bit more light, so I'm going to hit the road. Heading towards Milford Sounds. I rode out, but this time I started with all my wet weather gear on. It looks like it's definitely going to be a wet day today. That's different. A herd of deer. The first of the sun rays peeked over the mountains. So it shouldn't be too long now until things start warming up. I pulled over as I could see my first real snow-capped mountain. Just a quick stop to get a picture of the mountain. Snow-covered mountain in the background. It's pretty cold riding. I'm actually not too bad, but it is. I've checked the temperature. It's about, I've seen 3 and 4 degrees. All good. My hand's a little cold. It's not bad. I don't need to stop for it. Not the coldest I've ever been on a motorbike. That would have been near Napa Valley in California. I was in a little scooter to film an event, the Vine Man, in the middle of the early morning in the dark. I had to ride there and I was like, what's that movie, Dumb and Dumber? And they're freezing. That was me. So get the photo of this, and I think I'm probably another hour or so away from Milford Sound, maybe a bit longer, but it is stunning just to ride through. It's gorgeous. The roads are a little wet, so just cruising it, but man, it's what you think New Zealand would be. Well, what I thought it would be. The skies have really cleared up now. Hopefully that means there'll be no more rain. The navigation said to go to the right, but I could see a lake to the left, so left it was. If this keeps happening, I'm not going to be able to get anywhere close to where I thought I was going to today. How good's the view? Wow. To Te Anau, the biggest town in the area, and it seems the jumping off point for a lot of activities. Well, I guess that's how the rich do sightseeing. This place is very touristy. I grabbed some fuel while I had the chance, as it didn't look like it would be readily available ahead. I rode into Eglinton Valley. The mountains started rising either side of me as I headed into the forest. The Eglinton River came right up beside the road. Now that would have been a rather large obstruction. I wonder if these guys weren't here cleaning it up, if I would have been able to cut through the forest and get around it on this scram. The river turned into rapids and the valley narrowed as the mountains rose higher. It's virtually impossible to capture the scale and height of these walls, as this camera has a wide-angle lens which flattens everything. So, it really is one of those places you need to see with your own eyes. Truly jaw-dropping. This road that I'm riding on, Milford Road, took 24 years to complete, starting in 1929 with 100 men, armed with nothing more than shovels, wheelbarrows and handsaws. Although difficult to build, it didn't compare to the mammoth task of building the Homer Tunnel, which is 1.3 kilometres long and goes through granite rock. It took 19 years to complete the tunnel and finally allowed access into Milford Sound. I dropped down into the Claddock Valley. I made it to Milford Sound, and well, it was packed. I couldn't get a park anywhere, so I stopped the bike on the side of the road to get a couple of shots of the fjord. Milford Sound is part of the Fiordland National Park. It is surrounded by sheer rock faces that rise 1,200 metres, and some of the peaks rise to 1,500 metres. These fjords were carved by glaciers. I made my way back around to where the airport and boat ramp were. There was free parking here, but again, it was full. Well, Milford Sound's pretty epic. I mean, the ride in was insane. Some of those snow-capped peaks, turns, bridges. It's a little wet, so it's not really fast, but it's still a lot of fun. Milford Sound itself, where the water is and that iconic tower of mountain in the middle, awesome. It is touristy as you'd expect, so to park anywhere is a bit of a mission. It's all paid, and then all the campers are near the I guess it's the boat jetty, and that was packed too. So I just had a look around, squeezed around there, and then yeah, making my way back out. I think the actual ride's the fun bit. There's pictures to take everywhere. I won't get them all, but I'll stop a few more times on the way up. But yeah, definitely worth a ride in. There's a little bit of traffic around the tunnel because you've got to wait for the tunnel to come in, but other than that, basically on my own. One or two cars every now and then, but yeah, there are a lot of buses. Don't get caught behind a bus, I'll tell you that. So I'm going to keep moving on. There's no reception out here, so I'll have to work out my maps, I don't know, an hour or so time when I can get back to having a connection. Yeah, it's been pretty epic. I stopped to get a photo of one of the rivers that was running down from the mountains. I started the climb back up to Homer's Pass. Then back through the tunnel. Once out of the tunnel, I'd get to ride through this valley once again. I pulled over to get a few more photos of these snow-capped peaks. Just one road in and out of Milford Sound, so I was heading back to Te Anau. I had made it back to the outskirts of Te Anau. I pulled over to check the map and look for somewhere to camp. I found one next to a lake, so I put that in the navigation and headed off. From here, the lake was just under 90 kilometres away. I made it onto the dirt, where the surface was made up of these rather large stones, which became very skatey. The turn off into the lake. The road had narrowed to a little wider than a single lane. Came out of the forest to what else but another amazing looking valley. The track went from well maintained to, well, a track 4-wheel drivers would love. A quarter of this track seemed to just be mud holes. I tested one of the mud holes and it wasn't that deep. But as I'd spent the last couple of days going through river crossings and ended up with wet boots and soggy socks, I thought best to stay out of the mud holes, especially because the water wasn't clear and I couldn't see how deep they were. The mud holes made the track a little like a maze, where I had to pick the right line to make it through. Now that is what you call a brain fade. The idea was to keep out of the water. I have no idea why I rode straight into a mud hole. I was surprised it was so deep, and instead of giving it a bit more throttle as I slowed down, I was unbalanced and just fell over. That's the thing about riding off-road, you always need to be switched on. Now my foot was stuck under the bike. Needing some leverage, I took the camera bag off my back, then used the other foot to push up the bike. I thought it best to get the bike out of the water before trying to start it again. Well, lucky no one saw me do that, so no one will know I had a brain fade and dropped the bike. That looks like there's no room to make it through. So I tried down on the pebbly shore. What do you always do when crossing water and you can't see the bottom? Check the depth first. I have no idea. I'd gone through and went, oh yeah, it's all good. Silly me. Oh well, just got a bit wet. Socks wet again. Anyway, got to here and there's a view. Like a special one. That is pretty cool. But how good is that trail? It's just in here. It is pretty epic. It's a lot of fun. Spend hours on this. But I do have to go find a campsite. There's a few back there. I'll go back, set up the tent and try and dry my socks again. Bike looks good. I looked further up the valley with the snow-capped peaks on either side. How did I stumble into another incredible valley? I thought I'd ride the track along the shoreline on the way back. I decided to head back in onto the trail. This time, let's see if I can keep myself out of the water. I made my way out into the open fields, then found a rutted track to follow. Through another section of trees, then I pulled up to a stunning river. The river back there with the green water looked epic, but that view up there is just to die for. I actually found a little windbreak with this tree, so hopefully, right where I am now, I can put a tent up. But first, I thought it was best to get out of these wet, muddy boots. I finally dried my feet. A bird just turned the camera on by jumping on it. I lay my boots in the sun, hoping they would dry. Then finished setting up the tent. So there's one slight little problem. Well, it's not really a problem, just a thing. That water I went through smells like swamp water. So I can smell it in my pants. So if I happen to bump into anybody the next couple of days, randomly, I smell, that's why. I've also just moved my bike next to the tank because there's nothing to tie it down to. Pegs are just going in and out. Found a couple of rocks, but there's hardly any rocks around here. Hopefully the bike doesn't fall over. Maybe I need a rock under the leg of that too. So my waterproof side pannier, waterproof from the rain, but dunking it in a muddy hole, not so waterproof. I had to drain it out, had about a cup of water in there. I gather I didn't tighten the cinch over the top down and up or something. Oh well, drying stuff out as well. It's all happening at camp tonight. Once I got everything sorted, I caught the last of the sunlight hitting the valley walls and the tops of the snow-covered peaks. So that was going to be a short day, ended up quite a long day. The whole difference between this in New Zealand and Australia was, it's going to be able to have shorter days and not be so trashed at the end of it. But somehow I just like packing stuff in. Anyway, Milford Sound's rated. Even the ride-in's fun. Yeah, just the cliffs and the mountains and all of it. This last little track was a lot of fun, besides my little spill. I've now fixed up the pannier. All the water's out, wiped everything out, so we should be all good there. I've got couple of pairs of socks that actually got soaked in the pannier. It's all good. But tonight, it's going to get down to 1, maybe 2 degrees. So this is going to be the coldest night so far. And one of the changes I did make from Australia to here, my sleeping bag was 3 seasons. I don't expect to get much below 0 here, but, well, it could. So I got another one. Look at this. So they're called quilts. So they don't, like, it's not a cylinder that you zip right up to your neck. It's your feet sort of curls around you, and then the rest is just like a blanket. So far it's been epic, and it allows you to just move around easier, you know, when you're in a sleeping bag and trying to twist. Anyway, so tonight will be the test of how good it is. I've just been sleeping in a shirt instead of in Australia sleeping in like 10 layers. I'll tell you about it tomorrow if it actually works. Well, the sun's just about gone over the top of the mountains. I'm going to pass out. Tomorrow we head towards Queenstown. Heard a lot about it. Not the Tasmanian one that I went through on the Australian trip. Oh, Dow, so warm and it's going to be so cold. Riding out will be fun.
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the winter comes the ice, the snow, but I'm here to hold. And oh my love, don't worry about the cold just yet. The trees haven't started to shed.
In the next episode, I ride through the forest in the dark, wind my way along the edge of a stunning lake. Then I meet up with Royal Enfield ambassador James Fisher, who shows me one of his local tracks of his hometown of Queenstown.